Hello, magical ones. Welcome to the Faerie Witch vlog. I'm the Faerie Witch, and this is a blog. If you're new to it, this is a vlog all about fairies and cats and all sorts of other things, but fairy craft magic practice, and we're a little gardening, little baking, little reading and poetry and artwork for sure, and some knitting, and I cover a lot. I really do. And that way you never know what you're going to get, and you never know what kind of information you're going to get. And I like to keep it that way. I want to keep you guessing. And I want to keep it interesting. I want to keep it informative. And I hope it'll be inspiring in some way as well. So, today we are going to be talking about introducing children to the fairycraft magic practice, to fairies, to having a positive association. It's all about positivity. Don't want any negativity or anything to be scary. We want it all to be above board, and we want it to help children to find inspiration, to use their imaginations in this world, especially now because everything is so technical and everything is, so high-tech stuff. And, but if you don't have an imagination, if you don't work it, you don't use it, you don't create anything, you don't make anything. So you need your imagination. And that's something I think that, education and schools have kind of lost, because some administrators kind of feel that's not as, the creative classes are not as important as others, but they're all important. You need the sports, you need the academia, you need the speech and the getting out there and doing the physical activities, but you need the creative ones. You need the writing classes and the art classes and the building, the architecture classes, carpentry. You need all of that. It should all be important. None of it should be, disposable. So again, I'm very much for the creative arts. And so again, we want to just introduce children to a positive association to the fairies. And it's, not just Tinkerbell, but, all the fairies. The ones that can help, the ones that can inspire. So that's what we're going to be discussing today. And I hope you'll enjoy it. So if I've got some physical things I'm going to show you. I was going to set the table up here. I'm not so sure you can be able to hear me, because I don't have another microphone. I'm not sure how far away I can get for you to hear me well enough. So I did want to move the table, but I don't know if I'll be able to. I do want you to be able to hear me. So I may not be able to do that, but I will hold up everything. Alrighty, so first things first. I do write a blog on Facebook. I have a blog page called Fairy Craft, and I've already written this entry a few months back. I'm going to refer to it from my phone, but I am going to be adding information here to make this video even more unique and a little more thorough. So if you've already read that blog, don't worry, you'll be hearing it, but you're going to be hearing more as well. If you haven't read it, well, you're welcome to follow my page, and that way you can see other information that I don't always make videos of. Not every post on there will be a video, and vice versa. So you're welcome to check out both to get all the full spectrum of what I write and talk about. So I'm going to refer to that. So it's basically my own notes. So I'm gonna put down the baby here, and no, it's not a real baby, by the way. Don't anybody worry. It's a baby doll, plastic, baby doll, toy. But aren't they realistic? I love these dolls. I keep them as my models when I do my baby doll knitting. I knit hats and booties usually, and so they make great models for pictures because you can put them right on and check for size. So yeah, it's don't worry, it's a doll. It's not a real child, not a real baby, but they look realistic, huh? I love it. So anyway, I thought it would be perfect for this video in my opening. So we're going to put him over here. There we go. Gonna take a little nap. All right. So here are a few ways to introduce your child to a fun, educational way of life for the future. So again, some things that you can do that are fun that introduce the child to fairies, to fairy life, is to you can buy a bunch of things that you can make as either from the craft store, or you can go to the toy store and buy some, and you're gonna upgrade as they get older. But to start off with, and I would recommend a maybe good age group, maybe 8, 9 years old. I mean, that's maybe some people say it's kind of old, but then again, you want to make sure that they're old enough to kind of understand and comprehend. I mean, as a baby, for a baby's nursery, you could decorate the room with unicorns and fairy decor, pillows and toys, and you can get the wallpaper. The bassinets sometimes are decorated, or you can hand paint them. Excuse me, in safe paint that doesn't hurt the child, or just put stickers on them. I mean, you can really decorate. Just always, always, whenever you buy anything, whenever you use anything, whenever you decorate anything, especially something they're going to be sleeping in or living in or working with, you want it to be child safe, and you always want to be there to supervise, okay? Always be safe. Keep the child's safety #1 priority. Precautions, that kind of thing, okay? Um, it's very, very important because, again, we're about safety and positivity, okay? So, one of the things that you can buy to start off with is you could get a bunch of little gemstones, or, little crystals. Again, you could probably find some at the toy store, and use those. They'll be plastic, and you can use those as and if you're starting out with an older child, well, then you can buy the actual, and these are actual. This is an amethyst, this is a jade. And so there's online retailers that you can purchase gemstones and crystals. There's magic shops online, Etsy shops. There's also a rock and gem show or rock and gem shop, gift shop at Calico Ghost Town in Yermo. They sell all sorts of things. And then there are still rock and gem shows that you can go to and purchase, and talk to retailers and everything else. That could be more expensive, that could be more connoisseur, but then again, when I was younger, my mom and my aunt loved to go there because they would make jewelry or buy jewelry, and they liked to go to those rock and gem shows. And they usually didn't cost too much to get in, and you could spend all day just going through all the vendors and buying stuff. And you can buy the raw materials, or you could buy jewelry already made. So there's another option, and I believe that they still have them. I don't know exactly where, but I believe they still have them, and you might want to look them up online. But again, you can buy crystals, you can buy gems, and some of them are come in little jars already made. You can buy sea glass is a good one. You can get sea glass from the dollar stores. Here's another crystal. This is the Dalmatian crystal. And we got another raw amethyst. This one more of a from the gem show. This one I think might be fake. I'm not positive. It might be real. It might be real. And again, another little one in the little jars. And you can make them too. So again, this is a great project too, because if you wanted to actually make your little gem jars with your kids, then you buy the gems, you buy the little jars from the dollar stores, and you can make these little guys. And then you make the little labels. I mean, you can make this a this whole thing, this whole video, I'm going to give you lots of ideas, so feel free to write them down. You can make all sorts of little things with your kids that help them associate with the magical practice and get in touch with the fairies. Make your gem jars. Okay, so again, this is when you do the gems and you do the crystals. Again, it's not just about purchasing them. You want to explain what the stones mean. So again, you can look them up. There are magical practice books that talk about gemstones and minerals and that kind of thing that specialize. You can look it up online. Just make sure you've got a good source that's knows what they're talking about, and you put the association, so you can write it down, and you can make like you could make it like a little study guide for your kids, and you could really um gosh, you could really make it something where you explain what each crystal is. Like you say, okay, this is the Dalmatian. So you explain, okay, what does the Dalmatian do? What is the Dalmatian crystal meant to be? And its association. So that way the child will learn, that this one, may represent good luck, or it may represent health, or it may, whatever. So you want to pick the right, want to make the crystal, and you could make like a little study guide, and they have to draw the line to the right crystal. You could make it like a little study test if you wanted to. Makes good projects. That way that you're teaching them something, but maybe they don't realize that they're kind of in school, and you're still doing a project. So it can be scholastic if you want to take it that far. So again, you can really make this fun. And again, important, teach them what the crystal is, what it looks like, and what it represents, what it means. That way they will have that education and be able to use it later. Let's see. You can also make the little bags. That's the other thing. You can make little bags like these. Just buy the fabric, and if you know how to sew or whatever, you can show them how to sew it. Knitting, I make knitting pouches. So this one was a store-bought, but I make knitting pouches where I actually knit them. So if you wanted to, knit it up and give it to your child, you could. If you want to teach your child to knit, and that's something else I will be talking about. Yeah, and then they can knit their own. So again, this is all education. This is all, connected. You can really make this into a major, project or several projects. So you can make your own little pouches. Another thing you can do is another project completely unrelated are these little gift boxes, these little fairy boxes. This was a store-bought. It's wooden. It's from the Dollar Tree, and I just decorated it up. And it has a little, I like this one because it has a little drawer, and you can put stuff in it. So this makes a great little offering box you can make, where the kids can make an offering box and leave it out for the fairies and see if the fairies take the items or not. Or you could just, they could store their crystals in it, or they could just put little trinkets of fairy things in here. You can make little fairy scrolls and put them in with information. And you could do this too. I mean, you could use this as a tooth fairy box if you want to. Some people don't want to put the tooth under the pillow. You can, because that's the traditional way. But you could use this too. You could have the child put the tooth in, and then the tooth fairy, of course, is going to take the tooth and leave a little something. So this can be your tooth fairy gift box. Um, you know, it could be the whole thing, whatever you want to do. Just let your child decide. Let them use their imaginations, and you could have boxes for everything, however elaborate you want to get, however elaborate the child wants to get. But have fun with it, enjoy it, and you decorate it up. And like I said, I like this one with the door because it had the little window, and that way you can put stuff in, and the child can peek in and go, "Oh my gosh, there's something in there," because you could surprise them, and every day they would, Is there something in it? And then they could open the door and go, oh my gosh, surprise. That's a great way to get them turned on to do this. Okay, so great. Little offering box, little fairy box. That's another project. Then, whoops, I lost my screen. Okay, so what else can you do? Another alternative, of course, is another thing you can do is animals. Now, I'm very much into animal preservation. I've worked with animal rescues. I'm a cat trainer. I'm a retired certified dog trainer. So, I mean, I've had animals all my life, different ones: chickens, hamsters, dogs, rabbits. We fish, cats. Currently, we are a cat family. So, yeah, I've had animals, worked with animal rescues, donated animal rescues um, over the years. So, I'm very much animals. I would say probably that if I was a fairy in another life, or maybe my true nature is fairy, and I'm not saying I am, but if I were, I really do believe that I would either be an animal fairy, if you're going to go by the Disney classification. I would say might be a little bit of an art and craft tinker, but mostly I would say I was an animal fairy. That's just me. And that's going by the Disney classification, of course. But yes, there are animal fairies. Anyhow, so another thing you can do is buy little figurines, whether they be plastic or whether they be rubber or whether they be little ceramic or resin. Buy animal figurines and look up in the online or buy the animal spirit guidebooks, or there are some fairy books that talk about animal classifications. A lot of them will, if you find a good one. Um, oh, gosh, I'm trying to think of what the author is, and I know I must have her book. I think it's DJ Conway. I think I have her book by her where she talks about animals and animal magic classifications. But a lot of them will. If you buy a general fairy craft magic book, they will cover herbs and crystals and animal associations, colors, candle colors, that kind of thing. I do like to mention them on here, and if I haven't done it already and posted it, I will be doing one where I'll give you the listing of all the animals, so check back for that. But there are other ones you can look up. But again, pick some animals, little animal creatures, whether they be little figurines or bigger ones, whatever, whatever the kid wants, get them what they want, and then you're going to learn associations, what animal represents what. So a dragon usually represents protection, defense against enemies and danger and problems and negativity. It's kind of like a gargoyle, in the goth tradition. They're to protect you. And you might have a luck dragon, so maybe it'll bring you luck, like this little green fella. I usually use him for my luck spells and protection spells. So, each animal in the fairycraft magic does have an association. It does have a meaning. And so when you use it in your spells or use it, in your daily life as a token or a good luck charm or whatever, yeah, you need to know what represents what. So I just pulled out my little dragon to show you. So again, there is another thing you can do, and that'll help the children to learn um, learn about them. And again, too, you can buy gemstones. You can buy the gemstones carved into animals shapes. So that's good too, because then you can have the crystal and the gemstone association with the animal association. So again, you can combine these things, whether they're already done for you or not. So Let's see. Also, too, if the child wants to put their own association to a gemstone or an animal charm or whatever, that's fine. If they really feel like a connection, like if they looked at a tiger eye and, tiger eye, I think I have a tiger eye. A tiger eye is for protection generally. That's a tiger eye. So, tiger eye is generally for protection. Um, but let's say the child looks at this and really likes it and says, "Oh, I really like that. That's so cool. That's so great." And, and they look at it and all of a sudden they've got an association. Let's say they say, "Well, I look at it and it represents a cat." Well, yeah, it's named after a tiger, so that would make us that might be something they would associate. So from then on, they're going to associate the tiger eye with a cat. Well, that's fine. Then this stone now represents a cat to that person or that child. So the cat meaning is what you would focus on, and say, okay, well, the cat represents, cleverness and, power and this kind of thing. And so then you're teaching the child. So if they would prefer to make their own for their crystals or their gems, that's fine. I mean, later they may decide, okay, you know what? I look at the tiger eye, and let's say they're 15 years old by now. And they look at it and go, you know what? Now I see it. It's more of a protection charm. So then they change the intention on the stone. That's fine. They can do that. You can change your intention later, or your association with it later. It's just generally, if you want to follow the practice as what other people have done, then again, you buy the book, you're going to look online and associate. So as you as the parent, now that you're introducing them, that's where you'd start with. Later, as the child wants to change it, that's up to them. If they feel strong association with the tiger eye and go, you know what, I look at it as a cat representation. Good. Okay. There's no rule or law against it. Let them do it. As long as they have a good association and it means something to them and they like it, they want to use it, that's more power to them. Exactly. Another thing you can do too is, of course, it's very popular, is making fairy gardens. Making fairy gardens. Now, this is just one example of several I've made over the years. I do sell them occasionally, but these are great projects. Of course, fairy gardens are great projects for anybody at any age, and you don't have to be a fairy craft magic practitioner. But today we're talking about children and getting them, associated with fairies. So this little one was a flower pot, and I took a hammer and I gently, carefully broke it in half, and I lucked out and had just enough bottom left that it does stand up on its own. That's another thing. If you want to break it and make your own flower pot like this, the clay ones work really well. They break really easily, but you got to be careful. You just got to do light taps with a hammer until it breaks, and try not to break it too much, because if you break too much of the bottom, it won't be able to stand up on its own anymore. And plus, if you break it into a lot of different pieces, well, then you won't be able to use it as a flower pot garden anymore. You have to do a new one. But again, this is one example. But you can use a full flower pot, completely filled, and you fill it with dirt, and you can make your own little garden in there. So the child can add in all the little fairy garden tools and flowers and figurines. I mean, fairy garden stuff is popular now, so a lot of online places have them. Um, there are specific fairy websites that carry them, but of course, Hobby Lobby and Michaels and Joanne, they usually carry stuff. You can make your own if you know how to sculpt and have a kiln where you can fire them and do all sorts. You can make your own. Again, this is a great project for kids, and you can really make it as elaborate as you want or as simple as you want. You can buy everything you want if you can afford it, or you can make everything that you want if you can afford the supplies, or if you know how, whatever. So Enjoy. Do what you want. Make it unique. So this is one of them, and I'll show you a little closer. So if we got my little stones, and we've got little moss, and we've got twigs and butterfly and the fairy all glued in there. And this is kind of a simple one, but it made like a little scene, which is sort of cute. Needs dusting. Um, but again, you can make these out of flower pots. You can make big ones. You can make a big fairy garden out of the front, like I've shown you guys in a previous video. I think it was the one where I talked about cleaning up the fairy garden. There is an episode on the channel already, so check that one out. I'd made a whole flower bed into a fairy garden. So you can make them big, you can make them little, you can make them, for indoor, you can do it for outdoors, whatever. Imagination, just let it go, Again, this is a way to connect to the fairies, making a fairy garden. Now, along that vein, let's see. You can also too. Another cute idea is make a fairy garden out of a bird bath. If you got a want to recycle a bird bath that doesn't hold the water anymore, fill it with dirt and moss and grass, and you could plant flowers in it. But you can put your fairy garden in there. I saw one lady on a Facebook page, and one of the gardening pages. She made a wheelbarrow. She had a big wheelbarrow, wooden one, and filled it with dirt and made a great big, huge fairy garden scene. It was amazing. Other people just build big mounds of dirt in their yard, in their garden, and make a so you can really make this big. Or you could just buy a few little things, few little figurines and stuff, and put them underneath. When maybe you have an oak tree or a pine tree, or spruce tree or something, and you could put them along the base of the tree and just make it simple. You don't have to make them elaborate or big, or start out small and build up as the child gets bigger. As the child gets older, you can make them, expand. So don't be afraid to add. You can always start small and get bigger later. Plus, it keeps the child interested, because they'll be like, what are we going to add to the garden today? This kind of thing. And shopping sprees and all that fun stuff. So again, there's another idea. So along that, let's see. Fairy houses. Fairy house is another popular one. I've made several fairy houses over the years, and yeah, I do sell them occasionally. This is a cute little one I made from a little birdhouse, which was very unique. It kind of looked like it was a little castle, because it's got these cutouts. It looks like a castle top, but it was actually a birdhouse from the dollar store, and I painted it. I've added moss. I've added craft bark to it. And then the top, I went ahead and did the little birdhouse. So I've got little stones, got a little flocked bird, and so you made it. So I went with the natural way. And then the inside, I added some little wooden pieces, like a little log, and some little fairy flooring. That way it could be a little fairy house. So again, you can make these with your child, or let the child make it. And again, they're building a little house to invite the fairies in. Great little project. They can give them away for the holidays to their family members, or your family members could give them one. It's great, and it's a wonderful way to get the child associated with the fairies. Another thing too, which is a really great idea, is especially if you have a younger child, like I say, 7, 8 years old, is doll houses. You could buy a really nice dollhouse, plastic one from Walmart or where for Christmas, or a birthday present, or online source, buy one, and it comes with the dolls. They'll have the furniture, and the thing is though, you can modify the houses. You could turn them. I have some that I've made. You can, spray paint them, and then you can decorate them with moss and the bark, and flocked animals. You can buy uh, more dollhouse furniture from other sources. I mean, you can make, and if you wanted to, I mean, I get so excited about this because it's so cool. There's so many options you could do. But I mean, you could buy one pre-made, but you can actually make one. So what you can do is buy, the a plastic dollhouse, um, from Walmart. And then, dollhouse furniture, dolls are usually about that small. Now, if you've got a child, maybe, 10, 11, maybe they're into Barbie. Barbie's a big deal for me. I still collect them now and then, even at this age. But they have stuff these days they didn't have when I was a kid. They didn't make some of this stuff. So you gotta, anyway, um, we're all kids at heart at times, huh? Anyhow, you could, if they'd rather have the Barbie dolls, you could make buy the Barbie doll house. And there's many of them. You can buy a Barbie doll house, and you could convert it. You could spray paint it, or you could use contact paper, or you can use um, fabric. You could use fleece. The oh my gosh, the word just flew out of my mind. But it's processed yarn. What on earth? Felt. Thank you. Thank you, felt. You could buy felt pieces and cut them and make all this stuff. You could turn that dollhouse or whatever into a fairy house. That is a creative project for your child. It's an interactive project because the two of you can work on it together, or if you've got, several children and they all want to work on it together, it makes a group project, and you can have fun converting a house into a fairy house. And then they can play with it. If they're young enough, they can play dollhouse, and have a great time. And it's a way of really getting that imagination going. It's one thing, especially for all us kids, I think that, you need to play with dolls. Doll playing, dollhouse playing. I mean, that was a big deal for me when I was a kid. I was alone a lot. Or if I wasn't alone, I was around adults a lot. My mother wanted me to associate with kids, and yes, I did go to public school all my life, but I was an only child, and my mother was always worried. I mean, she worried about everything. she she had anxiety, I guess, and was never treated for it. But she was always stressed out and hated to leave me alone. I wasn't allowed to go to other children's homes. Or if I did, it was very rare, and then I usually wasn't able to stay long. I mean, she was always, very protective. And so, when I was home, I was alone. I mean, she'd be in the other room or be working or whatever. So my oh, my page just went off. But my whole association um, with imagination was from being alone, and I had my doll houses. I had an actual dollhouse, and then when I got a little bit older, I became really in tune with Barbie. So everything was Barbie. And again, you're still working your imagination, and I loved it. So again, doing dollhouse playing is a good thing, in my opinion, for kids, and it should be encouraged. So again, this is another way to make a fairy house: is use dollhouses, buy the furniture. Okay, so some other ideas you might want to try to get your children associated with fairies. And the fairy craft magic practice is simply baking. Baking and cooking. If you want them to kind of learn a little bit more about kitchen witchery, then that's a great way of doing it too. Because while you're creating or baking something, you're putting your attention into the food, that whoever's going to eat it is going to enjoy it, that it's going to taste great, that it's going to be either good for them or just delightful to them. And you put that intention in. And so again, that's talking about using the fairy craft magic, is actually using, plus you're teaching them to bake and you're teaching them to cook, which is of course important in this day and age. That is a talent that both girls and boys should know how to do and be able to do for themselves. So again, you are teaching them something they're going to need for the rest of their lives, but you're also creating that association with the fairy craft magic or fairies. You could say, well, I'm going to bake this chocolate cake, and we're going to have a great time decorating it and enjoying it, but we can also save some of it and give it to the fairies at the fairy ring as their offering, that kind of thing. Or you could do, maybe you're going to do a fairy tea party or a fairy birthday party, fairy theme. You're going to want to always, include the fairies, so your child can actually get excited about using the little, maybe making or using little dollhouse furniture and a little tea set. And so at your actual party, they could set up a little section for the fairies, you know, and you give them a little bit of the cake put in their little plate or whatever, or a little bit of fruit or something that the fairies are going to like. I mean, you can, really, there's so many ways every day that you can associate the fairies to your own life and your child's life. And by starting them out early, they figure out all of these things and they can keep a journal. That's another thing. Keep a journal. They can draw fairies in it. If you use a sketchbook, they have the little small sketchbooks. They're only about so big. Or you can get bigger ones. Some are hardbound. Some have the spirals. I believe my fairy journaling episode is still on this channel. You might want to check that out for some ideas. But you can, get little ones, and then that way they can draw the fairies in. They can write their little diary entries if they want to, or they can write their little recipes. They can write their little party ideas. I mean, the journal can become their life, basically, associating with the fairies. And it's a great way because it teaches them to write. You teach them about penmanship. You'll be teaching them how to spell properly, how to keep a diary, how to keep a journal, and you teach them to draw, this kind of thing. I mean, it really can go crazy. So here's another wonderful project is, sketchbooks and journals and diaries. Again, but you're teaching them, the cooking and the baking, journaling. There's another one. So, oh my gosh, we could go crazy on this, huh? This video may be long. I'm trying to keep it short, but there's so many things you can do. There's so many things you can teach your children, and it's still teaching them a practical item, If you've got, beauty spells, you could teach them fairy beauty spells. So, I mean, nowadays you can make your own soap, you can make your own lip balm. If you really get into it and know how to do it safely and use the right ingredients, you can make your own makeup. Your child could eventually learn how to make makeup and perfume, this kind of thing. There's so many things now we can do for ourselves and make for ourselves. Just as long as you know what to do. You need to have the knowledge for, the chemicals and the ingredients and all of that. So be careful, research really well, and buy the supplies you need, that kind of thing. But again, there's something else they can learn. Make their own soap, make their own shampoo, make their, this kind of, and you're putting their intention into it. You're associating with the fairies with it. So there's another fun idea, when they get older. I would say for those, definitely you want your children to be in their teens, and you need to make sure you got all the research and all the correct supplies. You don't want to have anybody get allergies or sickness or anything like that. Research for when you're doing beauty supply making, okay? Candles. That's another thing I want to talk about. We're going to get into candles. Now, for younger kids, of course, safety, because you're using candles, which means you're using fire. Be careful, be careful, be careful. Don't let them get hurt. Don't let them do it on their own. Be with them, supervise them all the time. Be careful with your pets. Don't let your pets near the flames or the candles. So a good way to get started is to buy little birthday candles. These little guys, they're not too expensive. You can get them cheap. And you're learning, you can teach them candles. Now, when they're really young, don't go into candle making yet. Wait till they're older. But if you want to do the candles, you can tell them, okay, this is a blue candle, mostly. um, so you're going to look online. Now, there are candle magic books that are out there written by really good people who know what they're doing, practitioners. So you want to get a candle magic book, okay? And I think there's a candle burning one I have. I forget the author. I think DJ Conway has written one. Um, oh, I don't know if Doreen Virtue wrote one or not. I don't think so. But there's many out there. I know I've got another one and I forgot his name. Crap. I forgot his name. But anyway, excuse me. Try not to hiccup. But again, look it up. Find a good candle magic book. Candle magic books will tell you, okay, they're going to say blue. You know, the blue color associated candle. Generally, for me in fairycraft magic, blue represents the sky, air, water, cooler weather. It can also represent feeling depressed. So there's a couple of different ways so there's many associations with a color. Black ones, protection, banishing negative thoughts, banishing problems, banishing people that could be harmful to you. Plus, black also represents strength, power, determination. It also can represent villains, but that's usually because of the movies in Hollywood. They often put their villains in black, but not everybody is a complete villain. Like Batman. He wore a black suit. He wasn't a villain. He was kind of a darker hero, but he wasn't a villain. Again, black, Gold. Gold ones. Money. Money, good luck, prosperity, winning, all of that. It all represents royalty. It represents royalty and wealth, Yellow, 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 yellow. Whoops, yellow. Where are you? I'm stuck. Yellow. Yellow ones represent to me sunflowers, the sun, light, happiness, energy, creativity. So again, this is just to give you, since I'm doing this, let's give you another more rundown. A couple more colors you may need. Green. Let me get it. Green, green, green. There we are. Green ones. Good luck, money, prosperity, wealth, health, feeling better, recovery from an illness, I may have said that already. Injury, I meant. Good luck. Vegetation, plants, growing things. Garden spells are great for. So again, there's another one. If you like the rainbow ones, you can use the rainbow ones. These are cool. These cover everything. See, they've got the whole spectrum. So, red, yellow, green, blue, maybe a purple in there somewhere. This one's already been burned a little. So again, you've got, a bunch of ones. So if you wanted to cover a rainbow association for good luck and happiness and creativity, then you could use a rainbow one. So let's see. Red one. Red one usually represents, excuse me, usually represents love, passion, warmth, heat, strength, determination. It also represents the holiday because we think of Christmas with a lot of red and green. Um, Valentine's Day, red with pink. Um, Maybe somebody's aura is more of a red, or maybe somebody's favorite color is a red. So you might associate a certain person with that color. So, there's red. Let's see, another one. Let's see, since I'm almost there. I might as well give you this. I hope you're writing these down. Feel free to. Pink. Pink, of course, popular with love, little girls. But pink, um, happiness, love, self-care and love, um, friendship, um, relationships, friendships. I do associate pink a lot with fairies. I would say for me, pink and green are probably my two go-to colors when I think of fairy stuff. So, yeah, I like to incorporate a lot of pink and green in my fairy paintings and drawings, and the artwork and the fairy dolls that I knit, that kind of thing, fairy houses. So I use pink a lot for fairies. But again, it's a great color. And then another one is purple. Purple is usually representative of royalty. It also represents meditation, um, divination. Sometimes you might use a purple candle. Um, Halloween sometimes is associated purple. We associate Halloween with black and orange mainly, but orange and or purple and red get in there too a little bit. So, but purple is used a lot. Um, I is for Passover, around Easter time. So again, it represents Easter as well, the Easter bunny. And Lent, if you're into Catholicism. But also purple is associated with Christmas a little bit more. We see that more and more these days. So again, these are just a quick rundown of some colors. But like I say, you start out with these little birthday candles, and that teaches your child what candle represents what. And then it's fun because then they're going to want to buy a bunch of different candles, and you need a bunch of different ones so you have them and you're ready to do when they're ready to work with them. But again, you're working with fire. So again, I'm going to say it one more time. Safety for you, your child, your pets, your home. Don't leave a lit candle, even these small ones, unattended. Don't leave the candle lit with your child or pet or both alone. Always be with them, supervise. You do the lighting of the candle, and don't have anything around them that is flammable, that could catch fire. Be very careful, okay? Safety. Safety, safety, safety. Number one. Okay. Now, we'll get into the next item. Another item that you can use and make or buy are little dolls. Now, you can have a variety of different dolls. Now, this one is a little poppet. These poppets are magical dolls. Now, let me just tell you, just because some people might get the wrong association. Poppets are different, usually, than voodoo dolls. Voodoo dolls are similar in size, shape, whatever, but they're used differently, okay? I only use poppets. I only make poppets. This little guy, I hand knit. I created the pattern, and I knit him up, and I do sell these from time to time. So you can make your own poppet. If you know how to knit or crochet, you can make a poppet for your child. You can get a pattern, or make your own if you know how to do it. Or you can purchase them already made, as you can see. You can make them these little guys. This one's about I don't know, he's about 6 or 8 inches maybe. But I have made other ones that are about 13 inches. The one I use for my moon magic spells, he's a 13 inch. Um, so you can make little poppets, and the idea of the poppets is they are magical dolls for benefits, for beneficial, positive reasons. So poppets are to aid your magical spells. They could be holding, they could hold a crystal. You could put a little pocket and put the crystal in the pocket, or you can just have them sitting and holding it on your offering table. You can use you could decorate it, like if you're going to make a poppet that represents a friend or a family member who maybe has major financial troubles and you want to help them, or maybe they're sick and they need help recovering from an illness. You're going to use a little poppet as a positive, and you're going to decorate the poppet with little items that represent that person. And whether it be their favorite color, you're going to write their birthday on it, you'd write their first name on it. Maybe you're going to decorate it up and use make little clothes for it if you wanted to, something that the person would wear, like a skirt and blouse, or maybe they're always in a t-shirt. You could use t-shirt material and make it, the more you make it personalized, the more it represents the person you're going to help. Now, okay, I'm going into poppet work here, but I just want to give you a really brief. But for your child, you can give them a poppet and they can play with it, they can hold on to it, they can carry it. It can be like their good luck charm. Many kids, when they're little, whenever they go anywhere, they like to take something with them. It makes them feel better, like a security blanket. They want to take their favorite doll, or maybe one of your son wants to carry a G.I. Joe or an X-Men or a Power Ranger, or one of the one of his critters with him. And your daughter may want to carry a Barbie, or she might have a favorite baby doll, that kind of thing. But the poppet becomes their favorite toy, would become their favorite doll, and they can carry it with them, put it in their little bag or backpack or whatever. And it can be a protection tool. It could be a good luck charm, and it can become their little security doll as well. So you can definitely just give them that association with poppets by letting them have their own little poppet. So have your child get used to carrying a poppet around. And then when they get older and they understand the poppet magic, they can start using the poppet, but then they've got the association with it because they've been living with it, they've grown up with it. And they may have their favorite one from their childhood, but they might need to make a new one or buy a new one. That's okay, as long as they put the association, the intention on it. So yeah, they can, enjoy their little poppets. And that becomes like I say, it becomes a talisman or a charm or a protection thing, a security thing, and it's just a little knitted doll. Again, positivity, and it helps them connect to the fairies as well. And they can decorate it or they can leave it plain, whatever they want to do. Again, there's another project, so you can teach your child to knit and knit one, or you can knit one for them and then they could decorate it. So again, there is another project that the two of you can do together. It's a bonding thing between the two of you, or with other siblings, but it's also creating an association, a good association with the fairies. Now, for some ideas where you want to actually get out into nature and associate with the fairies, which I highly recommend too, is again, as I've already kind of mentioned, you could build fairy gardens, you could do them outside, you can work with the trees, but another one is to teach them about tree spirit magic. So you could buy a book on trees, and then another one all about tree magic and spirits. And because that's, the Green Man is probably more recognizable. You've probably heard of the Green Man. That's the spirit within the tree that protects it, helps it grow, keeps it safe, that sort of thing. and that's the spirit you would connect to when you go to a fairy, when you go to a tree, and you're talking to that fairy spirit, because it is a fairy spirit, by the way. Green Man is. So, and you could buy Green Man statues or ones to hang on the wall. Generally, you see it where it's the face and it's got the big green oak leaves all around him. That's generally what the association or the image that we think of when you think Green Man. And that's used popularly, usually in autumn and winter, because of the tree growth. And or sometimes spring, depends. But yeah, you can buy sculptures or make your own. Your child could, draw it, again in that fairy journal. You can draw it, But again, teach them about tree spirits. Get out there in nature. If you have a nice backyard and you want to, start building a garden, vegetables, flowers. Teach them to garden. When they get older, teach them to use the lawnmower and the trimmer. Again, those are electrical, so be safe, be careful, supervise, but again, make sure they're old enough. But you can teach, and you're teaching them skills, not only just associating with nature and the fairies, but you're teaching them to use the shovel and to garden and to plant things, plant seeds. They're learning about different flowers, and you might do a vegetable garden, maybe you grow a strawberry patch. If you've got vines, you want to do grapevines, or if you want to, grow an apple tree, anything, all of that is beneficial to you spiritually, mentally, connects your child to the fairies, helps them learn a little bit of subconscious meditation, gets them out there to appreciate nature, gets them, away from the computer, away from the phone, away from, being stuck in their room. Get out there and get some air. Get out there and enjoy the sunlight. Get that vitamin E, and definitely learn. You'll be teaching them different flowers and different vegetations, and teaching them use the right tools, and teaching about seed growth and all that. The watering, because then you got the water element, because you're going to be watering them. Get a fountain, and then you've got the water. Do a bird bath. Do a bird feeder and a bird bath. There you're connecting to nature. Remember, some fairies can transform into birds. So you may be looking at a bird and feeding it, but it could be a fairy you're actually totally interacting with and didn't know it. Or maybe the fairy is riding the little bird. So again, they will like it that you show appreciation for nature, in animal form and in plant form. Gets the child out, they learn all of this, they start learning to appreciate animals, not to hurt them, not to chase them, not to throw rocks at them, not to do nasty things to them, and not to go kicking somebody's, garden around, don't step on the grass needlessly. If they see a bunch of toadstools, don't kick them, and, respect for life, basically. It's a way of teaching them that too. And again, they can write about this in their journal. Say, Mom and I planted, or Dad and I planted, some strawberries today, or we planted sunflower seeds. Can't wait to see them grow. And maybe 2 days later, hey, there's a sprig, and they get excited. So they can keep their fairy journals and write all this down and learn all this. And then when they're older, they can go back and read it and go, oh my gosh, that's when I learned how to do that. This kind of thing. Stuff that you forget. And as we get older, we often forget these things that we used for imagination, used to learn about the fairies. And we forget to learn about magic. We forget to keep working it. Because, as you get older, you start having to deal with hormones. You're dealing with health changes. You're dealing with relationships, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, and friendships, and, family troubles. And, they're going through the mental thing when they get teenager. It's like, I don't know what to, they don't fit in, and they want to fit in, and, all this stuff they forget. And as you get older, even older, our ages, we're We're worrying about relationships. We're worrying about money. We're worrying about fixing the house. We're worrying about, can we afford the car? Can we go here? Can we do this? Can we pay for that? How am I going to buy this? And you know, you forget magic. You forget your imagination because we're bogged down with everything else. So it's good, to do this. And as the adult, you will be benefiting too by doing all of these things with your children because you're bonding with your child. You're both going to have hopefully fun together. You're going to be creating good memories together. Your child writes it down in the journal. When he gets to be a teenager, you can say, hey, look, I know we're not getting along today. There's a problem, but maybe, take some time for yourself. Maybe you want to read your journal from when you were a kid, and plant the idea. Whether they do it or not, you've planted the idea. And maybe when they're calm or whatever, because maybe the two of you had a fight or whatever, and when they're calmer, maybe they'll actually do it and read it and go, oh my gosh, yeah, I remember when we planted that, or I remember when we went to this park, or I remember when we built that house, and it can help, I would think. These are all my opinions, okay? I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist. And no, I don't have kids other than the four-legged ones. But again, I'm just telling you from my point of view, if my mother had done some of this, maybe I would have different thoughts. I've had to teach myself this. And it's part of the reason why I'm still here. I'm still fairly sane at this point. And, you have to remember your magic. You got to remember magic. And by associating with the fairies at a child's age and continuing to do that and being encouraged to do that, hopefully they will be creative, they will be happier, they will be more successful later. They'll have maybe hopefully better mental health. I mean, it can all be beneficial, is my point. Again, I'm talking about positive thoughts. And these are just my opinions, my views, my recommendations. It's up to you as the parent whether you want to do it or not. It's up to you and your child, which ones you might want to try. I'm just throwing out a bunch of ideas that I think would be great. And as, a practitioner myself, as a fairyologist myself, I am recommending, I am giving you ideas, I'm teaching you some thoughts. And it's up to you to take them and run with them or pick and choose. And I hope you found at least one as inspiration, as one as a good idea. And I hope that your children will benefit and enjoy it and be happy. So get out there, go to a park, build your own garden in your backyard if you haven't already. If you have and you've let it get neglected, perfect time to get it back in shape. You work with your children, get out there. Go to an arboretum, go to a botanical garden. Go to a zoo, because you're connecting with the animals. Go to an aviary, where they specialize in birds. Get out there. Go to a natural resource. I don't know. Go to a pond. Go to a lake, or go to a forest somewhere. Go on a forest trail hike, or go someplace in the mountains with a waterfall. Again, be safe, have gear, go with other people, that kind of thing. But get out there and enjoy. My favorite place is the LA County Arboretum in Arcadia, California. That is one of the best places to go. It's beautiful, it's well maintained, it's safe. They do tours, they do projects, they do camps for kids, they do art things, they've got a library. You can be a member or a non-member. They've got waterfall that's absolutely gorgeous. They've got frog ponds and ducks and the geese and the peacocks roaming around. You get to interact. I mean, it's really a great place, and they got all that vegetation, all those flowers. They've got classes. I mean, it's my favorite place to go. Unfortunately, I can't go as often as I would like to, but I do try. And I do have a video on this channel where I've done a slideshow of a lot of my previous visits over the years with my photographs. Check that out if you haven't, if you're interested, and then go to their website and check it out. I think it's www.arboretum.org, I think, or just look it up, LA County Arboretum. You know, check it out. Go there. It doesn't cost too much. They've got a gift shop, they got a cafe, so you can have the whole day there and enjoy it. And your children can get all that benefit of being out in the air, looking at the vegetation, seeing the animals and the birds, and they've got an orchid house, they've got trails, they've got tours. They did have a tram. I don't know if it's still in operation. They did have a tram that would drive you around, give you a tour. But get out there and enjoy it, and because you're getting the water element, you're getting the vegetation, you're getting the earth, you're getting the air, you're getting the animals, and the fairies, of course, are there. They're there. You may not see them, you may feel them, but they're there. The fairy doors, the fairy portals, they're all there. They may not be right in sight because they don't always want to be seen, but they're going to be watching you. They're going to be watching your child, and they're going to be inspired, hopefully it'll inspire your child and yourself to really get into fairy lore, fairy magic, and connecting with the fairies. And I hope that you will. And I hope that you both, your children and yourselves, whether it be both parents, single parents, one child, several children, it can all benefit all of you. And I hope that you will give it a shot. Think about it. And I hope that this video has given you inspiration. And try something out. Try one of these out. Really get in there. Have a good time. The fairies love fun. They love music. They love crafts and creating, and they love growing things. And, even though there's not all good fairies out there, and there's plenty of folklore that talks about that, I'm not going to get into that one today because I have done a dark fairy video, and I'll probably be doing more. Those are different, but that's talking about inviting the wrong ones in, which you don't want to do. This is all about positivity and creating positivity with your children. So, again, I thank you for watching this. I know it was a longer video. There was a lot to tell you, and I get excited, as you can tell. And I know when I turn this off, I'm going to go, darn it, I forgot one more thing. So there may be another video at some point coming another time. And as I think of more things. But again, like I say, again, it just occurred to me. Artwork. Now, I did mention that if you knit, if you crochet, the fairy journals, they learn how to draw. But so those are all benefits, and it's teaching them skills. It's going to help them in their schoolwork. It'll help them in, being creative. Helps them to write. Helps them to learn, penmanship and spelling and all that. So I already talked about that part. But again, you can go even more into art. So teach your children how to knit, crochet, draw, paint, sculpt, sew. Teach them to sew. Those are all benefits and all skills they can learn in the future. It helps them get jobs. It helps them to maintain their home life. It helps them to make things at home and be creative. It helps them to repair something. You got a torn shirt, your favorite shirt, but you might be able to fix it if you know how to sew. Teach them all these kind of skills. Because these things can add to, can actually turn into jobs at some point. Painters are needed for, movie scenes, and you can go into the fine arts, you can go into commercial arts, illustration, book illustration. Poetry is a good one. Teach them to write poetry and get their feelings out. You can be a published poet someday. So there you're writing a book, this kind of thing. Computer art. Computers, of course, we live by computers these days. Computer art, you need to learn how to you could work for Pixar or Disney or another studio. You could open your own studio if you can. It all leads to jobs. Sewing, costume making, clothing repair. Um, I'm trying to think what else. The gardening, of course, you can go into landscaping, gardening. That all turns into jobs. Baking, cooking, become a chef. Go to bakery school. Uh, learning to play an instrument. Children should learn how to learn and appreciate music. So if you teach them to learn an instrument, piano, violin, clarinet, even just start out on those little plastic recorders, the flute, organ. All of that can be something that they can get their creativity out, but you can become a composer. They could write movie scores. They could work in, be, uh, they could hire and play in an orchestra. They could start their own band, and all can turn into jobs. All these things that you're doing to associate with the fairies can actually benefit you in other ways and become jobs that you can continue to do them throughout your lifetime. So again, don't be afraid to encourage your children to sculpt, to learn an ornament, learn an instrument, to do an art form or several. I know one of my best friends, her grandson, he does 3 different kinds of martial arts, 2 different kinds of martial arts, and I think he wants to learn sumo wrestling as well. But he also now can play 4 or 5 different instruments. And he's very intelligent. He's creative. He likes to be busy, and he's out of trouble. He's not, in with the wrong people. And he faces a good career. He's already got schools who are interested in him when he gets older. All of this can be beneficial. So art school, it's, music school, baker, cooking schools, um, everything. All because you started them out at a young age learning to be with the fairies and learning these skills, learning these creative outlets. All because of that, hopefully they are going to be happier, successful, and they're going to have jobs in their future and, have good education. So what's wrong with that? That's a good setup, I would think. That's a good head start, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion. So you can take it or leave it, but I really thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this gave you ideas, and go for it. And I wish you and your child a very, very happy fairy day. And again, I sprinkled some fairy dust, and this is what I conjured up for you today, and I hope you all enjoyed it. So thanks so much for tuning in. Please like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Feel free to donate to our PayPal link, which is on this channel, which I would really appreciate. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.